Hi ladies, hello, 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 and happy Valentine's Day. How are you all doing today? And where are you tuning in from? Let us know. Tell us where you're tuning in from in the comments. I always love to see that we get people from all over the United States and even all over the world in here. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sherry D. And hello, Trisha Lynn. Welcome. I haven't seen you in a while. I'm so glad you're here. So happy Valentine's Day. Remember, drink your water. Keep hydrated. It's so good for the body. So cheers to you for joining me. Delicious. So thank you for making time today to improve your health and your body, because I seriously hope that you can gain some tips from my foam rolling tips that you can implement in your life. You really don't even need a foam roller. You can do this flat on the floor or with a pillow, but foam rollers are super affordable on Amazon. So thank you for being here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sherry D. I am an 8-year survivor of a pretty severe deadly fungal illness. So I have found ways to relieve body pain because I get a lot of fibromyalgia symptoms. I get rheumatoid arthritis symptoms, and I've had a very low amount of energy for the last 8 years, up until 2 years ago when I started implementing celery juice and blueberry detox smoothies, and 4 years ago when I started implementing Epsom salt baths, any kind of sea salt, Himalayan salt. They're very energizing salts. They help ground us, and they help detox our body, and they help with muscle soreness. So it's just a win-win. Take your bath. And also when you take a bath, it is known that it's almost as if you've exercised for 30 minutes. If you take a 20-minute bath and you get a nice sweat going, think about how fat kind of dissolves in heat. That you're getting that same sort of reaction when you're in a hot bath. It allows the fat cells to release the toxins. And then if you do any kind of lymphatic massage in your bath, like I do with my gua sha tool, then you're just dumping even more toxins. So thank you for joining me. Oh, one more thing. Years ago, I was an aerobics instructor. I've always had a passion for health and wellness. So I kind of take the tips that I learned back then and I just bring them with me in my journey, and I try to simplify and multitask, because who has a lot of time, right? We're always so busy running from here to there. But I live out in the country, so it's about a 20-minute drive to town. Hello, thank you for joining us. It's a 20-minute drive to town for me. So if I drive to town and I drive home, that's 40 minutes. I can get a pretty good exercise workout routine at home in 40 minutes, right? So I created a space in my home for me to be able to exercise and be healthy. But the biggest tip that I like to give my friends is these foam rollers. I literally keep this foam roller in my living room in front of the TV. Because if my husband's sitting in his chair watching TV, or even if the family's here, I will lay on the floor to open up the seats and do these exercise tips. So this particular foam roller right here is a high density foam roller. You'll see it's about 36 inches long. I like the long ones because, as you'll notice, I move around on them a bit. This one is high density, meaning it's firm. So when I lay on it, I'm almost getting like a deep tissue massage and a myofascial release as I move my body on the foam roller. This foam roller here is a softer density, same length, and as you'll see, I think it's like a 6-inch diameter is how they come in the description. You can get them, at wellness stores, but Amazon sent it to me in like 2 days, and I think I spent $13.95 on this one. So this is my favorite one. So just to get started, I like to stand up when I'm standing. I'm not going to stand because of how my video is done, but standing up and just taking 4 good deep breaths, lifting up your arms and putting them over your head and exhaling. And as we inhale, imagine pulling energy up from the earth and then just releasing anything that's holding on to us that we don't want to be there, be that pain, be that stress. Inhale on the up and exhale on the down. And just imagine your feet rooting into the ground like a tree to keep you just grounded. Okay? So it's always good to get oxygen flowing. It releases toxins. And so I always like to give that tip before I start doing any sort of body work. So what I do is I put this on the floor, and I'm going to start super simple. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and type them in the box. And when I'm done here, I will answer your questions. And then that way, if anybody needs to go and come back later for the Q&A, they can always pop back in later to see the answers. And then what I like to do is take this video if I can, and I might even make it a YouTube video, so you'll always have it for future reference. And you can always come back in the group and do a search. This is foam roller, and this should pop right up. So basically, I put the foam roller on my neck, and if you have any neck problems, of course you're gonna have to, approach with ease, or some people might not be able to do this move. But if you have fused, vertebrae in your neck, your doctor might advise against using any pressure on your neck. But what I like to do is I put it as far as I can up into my hairline. I put it as far as I can without losing the foam roller. And what that does is it stretches all the muscles along the back of the neck. And then what I'll even do too is I'll look to the side. And basically what that's doing is it's stretching the muscles on the opposite side, this side over here. It's stretching those muscles. And I like to take a nice inhale. And let it all go. And as I exhale, I pull in my abs and I push my lower back up against the floor. And so this is just how I start, nice and slow. Just now look the other way. And so basically what I'm doing now is putting pressure on the muscle on the other side of my spine. I do try and stay off the spine. We don't want to put any unnecessary pressure on the spine itself. So I will often be leaning to one side, not directly on the vertebrae. And I'll even kind of look up and around, kind of look up, whatever feels good. And if you find a little bit of stiffness in your neck, it's good to stop just before that stiffness. Don't go into the stiffness, just stop right before it and take nice deep breaths. Again, pulling in your abs as you release your breath is an exercise. I don't do sit-ups. I do this. So then what I will do, and this is where the bum comes into place. So let me scoot up a little bit so you can see my feet. You'll see that my feet are just about hip distance apart. My toes are pointing forward. I don't have them pointing out. That will hit different muscles at a different time. But for right now, we just want to keep and think about everything in alignment. Okay, and so then what I do is I'll use my hands if I need to. And remember, if you experience any pain, stop and don't do this. But I've been doing this a while, so I know my body, I know my neck. And so what I do is I push up. And now I've engaged my glutes, I've engaged my quadriceps, and I'm pushing on the muscles on my neck. And as I move my head, I just got a little crack. As I move my head, it gives the muscle fibers myofascial release. And so I go very slowly while I'm still in this position. So there's another crack, little pops and little cracks are good to hear, because sometimes you might have some adhesions that are holding your muscles together. And I'm going to come down because I'm getting a little bit. my bum was getting a little bit fatigued. And so I don't want too much of my energy going there when I'm doing neck work, because this is a very gentle, sensitive area. Okay, so now, so I can stay in the viewfinder, I'm going to go ahead and reposition a little bit so I'll have room to roll. Okay, so if you do have neck problems, you're not starting here. If you have neck problems, what you want to do is get the foam roller and put it on your shoulder blades. So I am wherever it feels comfortable, and again, knees are forward, toes are forward, legs are about hip distance apart, and I push up. So you can see if I'm just kind of here, this is just relaxing. This is not engaged, this is not engaged. Watch right here when I push up and I engage my glutes and pull in my abdominals to my belly button. Watch. Can you see how those muscles are engaged now? These are engaged. This is how I tone my bum most of the time. I mean, this is my go-to thing. So then what I do, I support my head, so that way my head, I mean, if this is comfortable for you for a minute to get that stretch, that's awesome. But I don't do this a lot because I have a little bit of pinching that happens in the back of my neck. So I take my hands and I just clasp them, or you can hold them out to the side just by supporting this way, but I like to clasp, that way I don't have to think about it. And then I just start rolling very slowly back and forth, keeping everything engaged. Squeeze the glutes, push the hip bones up towards the ceiling, and just roll back and forth. And then as you're rolling, you can go down just a little bit further. If you find that this is rolling on your spine, then what I do is I kind of lean to one side. See that? I'm very fortunate. I have the type of spine that kind of concaves in. You've got the muscles that run down the side of the spine. My spine is inverted. I don't know what the word for that is, but some people have really extended, I don't know what the word would be, spines where, when you bend over, you could see your vertebrae. So if that's the case and you're on your vertebrae, I just recommend just doing that ever so slight little, and then now I'm only working my left shoulder blade area, and I'm going to sit up and show you. Basically, when I'm on the foam roller, I'm right here. And then when I lean to the other side, I'm right here. So these muscles that run up and down here, these trapezius muscles, you know how a lot of us can get a lot of tension in that area? This is a great way to reduce the tension in our shoulders. So there we go. So, and if you're just beginning, you can just roll back and forth. You're just releasing tension. But if you do want to get that extra toning and use it as an exercise, then remember to squeeze the glutes, hold in your abs, pull the belly button into the lower back, push up. And then what I'll do, I'll even just stay here because I'm like, oh, this feels really good. It's kind of like a deep tissue push on my trapezius in my back. And then I can, because I'm not exerting energy here, I can focus my mind, my brain, and my energy here. And then what I'll do sometimes is I just go ahead and I will release and come together. Release and come together. But as I'm releasing right here, I'm only releasing my knees open. My glutes are still engaged. My stomach is still holding tight. And then I push up and release. And so I'm not going to do any I'm going to do 8 reps. It's up to you on what your reps feel good. You might only do 4. You might be able to do 10 or 20. So it's up to you and where you're at in your journey. And then what I do is I pull my legs together, and I squeeze my feet together, and now I push up even further. That really engages all the way down the hamstring. And then sometimes I'll go ahead and pulse up. And this is really, so I'll squeeze the glutes Now there's a bit of release on the glutes. Squeeze the glutes, release the glutes. Squeeze, release. Squeeze, release. Okay, so there's that one. Another one to do here is you can actually you can be hanging out. You can so now what I'm going to do, I've got I've got my ankle on my knee, and now I will go back to those glute raises and squeezes. Because now what am I doing? I'm putting all of my weight on my left leg. So this is really toning my left leg. Now, mind you, when I talk about toning, my mind is thinking, now we're going to switch legs. My mind is thinking toning. I'm not building major muscle here. I'm not going to look like a muscle builder. My goal personally is to look like a ballerina. I like to have long, lean, defined muscles. I don't want the short, bulky, big muscles. I've had that before, and it's just not my preference. So now that I've kind of exerted myself, I'm going to go ahead and roll out my back again. Remembering to breathe. Now I have to reposition because I'm going too far, and that will happen a lot. I'll kind of start rolling around down the living room floor. So I just stop and reposition. And now I'm going to go ahead and focus a little bit lower. Now I've got the foam roller right about my upper rib cage. And again, if you're on your spine and it hurts, just lean to the side a little bit and only get that muscle. So we'll do this 3 or 4 times. And now I'm going to come to the center and roll it out a couple times. Because for me, this is going right down both muscles down my spine. And now I'm going to go to the other side. So if you can see, I've come off of it. I'm not here, I'm here. And I just roll. And if you feel little pops, that quite likely is your body going back where it needs to be. Because sometimes we get out of alignment and out of adjustment. And these foam rollers are designed to put everything back in place. Since I have a foam roller, I'm going to relax for a minute. And that's real important. This right here, breathing and relaxing while we work out, is really important, because as we age, our bodies don't respond to heavy workouts like they did when we were young. And when I was young, I used to be able to do an hour of aerobics, no problem. But if I tried to go do an hour of aerobics every day, what's going to happen is that's putting too much exertion on my body. My adrenals are going to get fatigued. Then I'm going to start producing too much cortisol, which also would happen if I try to heavy weight lift train. And then what happens is I start getting swollen looking, and I don't have the long, lean muscle look. So women that are, I would say 37 and up, once you start hitting anywhere around menopausal age and our hormones start changing, I personally see women have better results with a lighter approach exercise. That's why I get such good results. And because I really think about calming my mind and keeping relaxed as I exercise. And a lot of oxygen. Okay, so now that is my upper body. Now I'm going to try to get myself into the viewfinder for the lower body. So I start here, push up, and I roll, and I use my feet, and I take little steps. And then when I get right here, I have to kind of hold on to the floor just so I don't put too much pain where my kidneys are. I don't want to put too much pressure, because some of us might have sensitivity in our kidneys. And so this is where I hang out for a while. Inhale and exhale. And what this does, you can feel a nice lengthening in your abdominals. Trying to keep your toes pointing forward. You don't want here, because this is going to put undue strain on our hip flexors and our hip joints. So trying to keep your feet straight up and down. And then sometimes, rather than me just trying to reapproach, I will literally put my feet up and go, oh, that's where it feels better. I am right on my hips now. I'm not in the arch of my back. I'm on my hips, right where some of us might get fatty tumors right here. So here's my hip bone. I'm just on the back hip area. So I'm really just relaxing. It feels really good. Here, let me come back so you can at least, there, so I can see you. Okay, so again, you want to try and keep your neck nice and relaxed. And then here's what I do. I straighten this leg, keeping that toe forward. You can point it or flex it. It's up to you. Look at that. Ooh, I'm all in the viewfinder. You can either point your toe or flex it. It's up to you. It will engage different muscles. You'll feel it here in your hip area, and you'll feel it in your calf. And you can even squeeze the quadricep. So now I'm really getting blood flow. And now I've even squeezed my glute. So here we go. So then what I do is I pull this leg, and as you notice, as I'm pulling this leg into my chest, look what happens to my foot. It comes off the ground naturally. So what's happening right here is I'm getting a great stretch in my groin area and in my hip flexor. And this one over here, I'm getting a stretch right back here. So that way, as I did my glute work, I'm stretching that out. But this right here is what I'm really focusing on, because for those of us who sit a lot, if you sit at an office desk or you travel in the car a lot, chances are your hip flexors are really short because they're always up here. So they just get nice and short. And then when you try to go like this, it hurts. And we do a lot of work with our hips. That's what gets us around during the day. It moves our leg. And as you'll notice, I'm naturally rubbing this area. So this is what I do too. When I'm stretching out areas, I will rub it gently sometimes, because what it does, it's connecting my mind, my hand, it connects, and as I rub gently, or maybe I might need to go in a little deep somewhere, maybe there's a little knot. Oh, here's one right here. So I can just kind of rub that out, and so then I'll inhale and exhale, and I'll just try and let it go down even further. Just let it hang naturally, whatever feels good. And if it hurts, then what you can do is put your foot on the floor when you first start this. I'm still getting a nice stretch. Okay, so then what I do, I like dancing. I like to look elegant. And so I think of myself as a pretty dancer, and I switch. And right now, as I switch that, I just got a click in my right hip. So that tells me my right hip was tight. I did two dancing classes last night. So this feels good to be able to stretch out. Again, the toe is pointed or flexed, whichever you want. And even this one, you can point it or flex it, whatever feels good. Another good thing while you're here is to round out your ankles. Get some nice fluid movement. And then inhale and exhale, and think of your leg relaxing just a little bit further. Rub that hip flexor area. Up and down, circles, whatever feels good. And it's almost as if when you're rubbing it, you're giving it permission to release. That's kind of how I look at it. It's kind of like a hug. Okay, so again, if you're just beginning, you can put here and you can squeeze your glute while you're here. I'm getting an amazing stretch in my hip flexor. Okay, so then what I do is I'll bring them both. And when you're here, you have to be careful. Sometimes the foam roller might have a tendency of rolling out. So you want to be sure that you have a nice grip on your foam roller. When you first start, you might even want to hang on to it. That's good too. So while I'm here, I've already stretched out my hip flexors. Sometimes you can even just alternate if that's what feels good to you. Me, I'm more of an isometric hold girl, because I feel like if I'm holding it here for 30 seconds, I'm going to do more good than doing 30 of these. Because when you're doing this, you're getting 1 second, 2 seconds, right? You're just getting it in little intervals. So me, I like to hold, connect my mind to the muscle, rub it, and connect. So I'm going to do one more side, and I'm spending a lot of time on this side, on this particular exercise, ladies, because I cannot express enough how important it is for us to stretch out those hip flexors, because we do have a tendency of doing so much sitting. So I can come here, I can pull my legs into my chest, releasing any of this tightness, and then what I do is I lift my feet towards the ceiling. And here you can either point your toes or you can flex your toes. Ooh, when you flex your toes, whoo, I feel it all the way. And this is just so, again, I'm pulling my abs into the floor. So I'm creating a strong core. I've got my quadriceps engaged. I can just have them, like little wet noodles, or I can literally engage them. If you have a hard time engaging them, some women might have atrophied quadriceps because they haven't used them in a long time. Then my suggestion is to do these type of exercises where you're forcing your quadriceps to engage over time. Okay? For a little bit of an advanced, for those of you who might be very limber and might do yoga, I'm going to go ahead and show you what else I do when I'm up here. So I do this. Yeah, see, it just slipped. This one's newer, and it even has little grippies on it. But I have slippery bike shorts. So here's what I do. I put my feet up to the ceiling, and then I slowly lift up my bum, because see, I'm already halfway up. So I'm like, well, shoot, if I just push a little further, look at that. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and support my back. And now I point my toes and I push up and I hold in my abdominals. And this way I think about gravity. Gravity is pulling my abdominals all the way up where I would like them to be always, right? We don't want our bellies hanging to the floor. We want our bellies up close to our rib cage, right? And so I will just stay here for a while, and then sometimes I'll readjust and pull myself up a little higher. And it's always best to not be looking at the camera like I am. You should be neutral head and spine. And then here is what I do, just for a little bit more. Again, this is kind of advanced stretching, but I haven't done this in a while. So I can really feel stretching right here in my lower back, all down my back. And then eventually I slowly roll. And right now I can't, because like I said, I haven't done it in a while, but I can sometimes put my toes to the floor, but I can't anymore. So maybe I'll check in a month or two and see if I can. And then coming down very slowly and safely. Very slowly and safely. Oh, goodness. So that is toning stuff. Now, if you have lower back tightness, I give myself a massage on the lower back by just swinging my knees to the side and whatever feels good. And then right here on the back of my hip, where some women of us have a tendency of getting those fatty tumors, I have fatty tumors, and I find that mine might even be fungal related because of my valley fever fungal illness. The more that I do my fasting and stay away from sugars, the smaller they are getting. But if I don't do these exercises, what happens is my muscles start to really adhere to those fatty tumors. So my goal is to keep my muscles pliable and relaxed away from those tumors so the tumors don't take over. And see right here, I have my legs crossed. You can keep them here. It's just whatever feels natural. Let your body just flow with what feels good, because if you are doing something that doesn't feel good, your body's going to tense up, and then you're going to get the fight or flight response, and then you're building cortisol. Cortisol makes us look puffy. We want to look slim. So, so there's hip. Sometimes I will even take it a little further and have one leg straight, just whatever feels comfortable. I'm not, totally limber right now because I've been working really hard. But here again, so you can just roll on those hips. And what I've found, what I learned in my travels, is that us women with saddlebags, these are like pocket-filled sacks. Fatty, pocket-filled sacks. And we have a lot of lymph in our hips. That's where dry brushing comes in, or lymphatic massage. So I can't stress enough how important dry brushing is. And lymphatic massage. I have a lot of those videos on my YouTube channel, Sherry D Shares Wellness, and I'll be showing my updated dry brushing too. I even started dry brushing my elbows. I found I was forgetting. I wasn't dry brushing my elbow, and when you dry brush, it exfoliates skin. And so, hey, I'm gonna take a drink of water while so what I'm doing here is I'm just resting on my waist area to kind of loosen up anything that feels tight. You'll see most of my weight is on my bum and most of my weight is on my elbow. And I try to remember to hold in my abs. And so when you're here, there's so many exercises that you can do, and for me, when I do, when I do my hip flexor, my outer hip, I'll just hold it here. Let me scoot up a little bit. Like I say, because I am the isometric girl, I like to just hold. And so when you hold, you want to be sure that your hips are stacked with the ceiling. You don't want to come here. That's going to engage your back, quad, glute muscle, So I'll just lay here. But while I'm here, I'm going to take a drink. I'm going to come up slowly and take a drink. And then I'm going to lean on the other side. Just to keep things even, I do something that a lot of people have. They have a tendency to advise against, and that is when I feel bloated. I start on my sides here. So again, you can do some hip work. You can do more hip work. You can hold it here for 3 to 5 minutes. And that is totally engaged in toning. Or if, doing this, it works. But to me, that takes too much energy for me to be going up and down because it's a heavy leg. So I just hold it here. And I'll squeeze because I want it to be perky. And I want the fluid and the fat to get away from the fat cells. I want it to wash out. So that's what I do. But I'm going to show you, because some of you might find this useful and some of you might find it extremely painful, but I find it useful. There are times if I eat dairy or pasta or white bread, I have a tendency of getting a very, very bloated belly. And I even have a lot of friends here in social media. They're like, oh, sure, Sherry, there's no way you can look 7 months pregnant. And I'm like, no, really. Right now, because I've been so good with my diet, my abdomen is very small. It's not bloated because I haven't been putting toxic food in it. And that could be toxic to my body. Some people can do dairy. I can't do dairy without my belly will literally be out past my breasts, and it hurts. And so this is what I do. And I have to do this for 10 to 15, sometimes 20 minutes. I do have a pillow. I will be in the living room while my husband's watching TV, and I come and I get the foam roller and I put it on my belly. Now, if I don't have the pillow, this is a lot of pressure on the belly. And if you're not used to it, it can really hurt. But look, I can squeeze my glutes. I can get exercise there. I am on my toes. See, I have it this way. You can do it this way, but that's too much pressure on the hips, so I stay on my toes because my focus is on my belly. And I inhale and I exhale. So that way I'm actually squeezing out my gallbladder. I'm squeezing out, if I lean just a little bit to the side, I'm putting pressure to squeeze out my liver. If I put pressure on this side, you can even go so much as to squeeze out your kidneys. And again, remember, this can be painful. That's why I highly suggest using your elbows, or even go even further to get yourself up with a pillow. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll just lay here and then relax my feet. And I can feel my heartbeat. So if I start feeling a little lightheaded, I could be on an artery or something. So then I just kind of adjust just a little bit. And I let all of that pressure go. And if you do this, you might find, if you have gas bubbles in your belly, you might find some sounds. And then if you pull your bum up, think about if you have a balloon under the water, which is full of air, what does it want to do? It wants to float to the top, right? Our bodies are mostly water. So if we put our bum up, sometimes that can help release gas. And it'll go. And there you go. You don't have that much pain. So there you go. That is mostly of what I do with my foam roller. So if any of you ladies try this, please let me know how you did. Let me know if you enjoyed it. It's something that you can do every day. It's something you can do in your living room or your bedroom. And it's just a really simple way to love yourself and give you self-care. So I hope you enjoyed that. For those of you that don't have any time and need to click out, go ahead and click out. I'm going to read through the comments and see if we have any questions. Stephanie Lawrence, hello. Hello, Maria. Hello, Diane. Fedra was here. Lupita, yay. Delphina, yay. Karen, she'll have to watch. Oh, we've got a chat, Karen. Trisha Paris, Karen Cluster. Okay, happy Friday and Valentine's Day to you too. Hey Pam, good to see you. All right, ladies, so we don't have any questions, so that's good. But if you do try it and you come up with questions, please let me know. I'm always happy to answer questions. And on my YouTube channel, Sherry D Shares Wellness, I do have one specific shorter video that just works on the neck. So it kind of focuses a lot more on just looking different directions and releasing the neck. So thank you for joining me. Have a fabulous, fabulous day. And I look forward to seeing you all more. I look forward to bringing you my updated dry brushing routine because I really get in there. I bend over. And remember, dry brush your elbows and your shoulders because you want that fluid to move. You don't want to be up here and all puffy. You want it to be. Release the fluid. Release anything that's not serving you and let it go. All right. Thank you, ladies. Bye. It's been fun. Thanks for joining me.